Thank you for keeping it KTN Farmers TV. I'm Susan Mwangi on Get It Right. Today on the show we have Brian Omoke, who is an organic expert. He's well known as the organic guy. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, now before we get to our subject of today, maybe we can start by knowing who Brian is and what is your background?
I prefer to go by the name of the organic guy because I think it's a name that represents who I am and what I'm all about. So a little bit of my background when I was young, I was raised by my grandparents and they were farmers. So I never saw them using any chemical fertilizers or pesticides. So they were doing farming as the way it should in what I believe in. I went to high school, did agriculture, went to university, also did agriculture, Bachelor of Science in agriculture. Managed to come up with first class, which I'm very proud of. So through that process of doing agriculture in university, I gained an interest in organic farming. That's because we had a unit in organic farming and we were taken to organic farms to see what they do there. So while I was there, I fell in love with it. So when I came back, I started to write about organic. So a lot of people started asking me, what is this organic you're talking about? Why should we care, about to go organic? I got a lot of questions about it. But most importantly, people asked me, yes, you're telling us all these benefits of organic, but how can we access these products? So that's when now the idea of me starting Think Organic, which is an online store where any customer can order products and get them delivered directly to their doorstep. I'm also adventurous, trying to learn new things. It's through that curiosity also that made me to start Organic Adventures. So basically we are trying to create conversations around the organic environment, from farmers to producers, all people along the value chain. So in a nutshell, that's what I'm all about.
Okay. So let's talk about this organic farming. It's a word that is being mentioned across the nations.
Yeah.
We are living in times when there are so many lifestyle diseases, and so many of them are being directly linked to what it is that you and me are eating on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so we've had practitioners really emphasize on everybody to go organic. So help us understand, what is organic farming?
So basically, organic farming at its core is a farming system that tries to work with nature. So it tries to understand what nature is all about and trying to incorporate it in what it involves. So it's a farming system that at the core is based on ecology, that's knowing your environment and what works best, on health, talking about the health of the people, the plants, the environment and the animals, and then there's fairness. So that means what you'll get as the end consumer must be fair also to the farmer. Most importantly, it's a farming system that avoids the use of synthetic chemicals, pesticides and fertilizers, and most importantly, avoid the use of GMOs. So in a nutshell, that's what organic farming really is.
Let's look at the benefits of organic farming in relation to the environment and as well to the farmer.
To the environment, numerous advantages. So for example, at the core we avoid use of synthetic chemicals, and we know what these chemicals do to our environment. For example, we know when we are using heavy pesticides, which, for example, glyphosate, which is a hot topic right now, what it does to our bees, for example, our non-targeted organisms, for example. You know that they destroy those kind of beneficial insects that we actually need on the farm. Also talking about the synthetic fertilizers that organic farmers don't use. So, they are destroying the soils. For example, those soils are dead right now if you go to a conventional farmer. Why? Because when you use those synthetic fertilizers, you're killing the most vibrant microorganisms in the soil. So as you can see, it contributes a lot to the environment.
As it is right now, the soil fertility is really low.
Yes.
So how can farmers go organic and still maintain production, high yields of production from their farms?
So there are so many ways. One of the ways is, of course, use of manure, and this manure has to be used properly. And it's a very good advantage that organic farmers have when they use manure, because organic manure decomposes slowly, and that means it releases its nutrients over a long period of time. So that means your soil actually stays nutrient rich over a long period of time compared to any other things that you might use. So organic farming also includes, mulching, which releases nutrients slowly also into the soil. Crop rotation. So for example, it's not a monoculture system. So when you're growing one season maize, next time you can grow a legume, which is a very good nitrogen fixer in the soil. So through all those practices, actually a farmer is maintaining his soil fertility and improving the soil fertility of the soils.
Let's talk about the synthetic fertilizers that most farmers are using right now for crop production. Do you feel like farmers really understand what it means to the soil, and what can you advise them right now so that at the end of the day they will have a high yield of production and at the same time be able to maintain the soil fertility?
Well, do they understand
the mess it's doing to the soil? Because I think many of them are just looking at the end product. They want high yields, and that is it.
I bet most of them know, because when you look at the soils before they even started applying the synthetic fertilizers, and when you compare them to right now, they can obviously see a huge difference in terms of the soil fertility of the soils. So they should be able to see the effect that the soil is having. So should they continue using it? They shouldn't, because the evidence is obvious. We cannot continue going through that path. And here's the thing: synthetic fertilizers, where do they come from? They come from natural resources, and they are processed, through an industrial system. And the longer we continue to use this kind of fertilizers, the prices are gonna go high. Why? Because these materials where these fertilizers come from are finite. That means that they are reducing each and every single day. So that means when they're becoming lower, the prices of it's gonna go high because of the demand. So it's not a sustainable system that we are going to use to maintain our soils.
Brian, is organic farming sustainable?
Organic farming is the most sustainable system that we have on this planet, if you ask me on my own opinion. And I'm very confident about it. So when you look at organic farming at its core, it involves using the readily available materials that you have, and most importantly, it sustains the use of it in your soils and in your farming system. So what am I talking about? For example, if you want to enrich your soils, what do you have to do? Look at the local available materials that you have. I'm talking about the plants, for example, that you can decompose. Thytonia, for example, is a very good plant that is rich in nitrogen. Those are the kind of things that you can easily find on your farm. I'm talking about the livestock that you keep. The manure, you can easily use it to improve your farming system. And the good thing about organic farming is actually technology rich, is a science. Nowadays we have a lot of approved biofertilizers you can use, a lot of biopesticides that you can use in your farm. So that way you don't have to cause a lot of harm to your soils and also to your ecosystem, and be able to produce your produce sustainably, and most importantly, have more produce. So there's a 30-year study that has been done by Rodale Institute comparing organic and conventional. Organic actually produces more over a longer period of time than conventional.
All right, so Brian, there is something very important that you have mentioned, and this is composting. Yeah. So are there processes that should be followed through while composting that farmers need to know about?
Definitely, for you to have to maximize your composting, you have to take a few steps here and there to have a quality compost at the end of it. So you have to strike a good balance of the kind of nutrients that you want. For example, incorporating Thytonia, which is a good plant that is very rich in nitrogen. We have you can use maize stalks, also in your composting, and also you have to ensure that there is a good environment. So getting the right temperatures, giving the right oxygen to your compost, just to make sure that at the end of it, you have a really good compost that can be able to sustain your farming system.
In conventional farming, of course, we have the genetically modified farm inputs. So can you compare the production of these farm inputs which are genetically modified with the farmer who has decided to go organic? Can the production really match up?
When you take true cost accounting of what organic is all about compared to other systems, organic always comes on top. Now, for example, when we are comparing organic and GM crop production, we have to sit down really and get the whole point. What is the true cost accounting of producing this kind of crops? So, for example, organic requires less inputs in terms of production. So, the seeds, I'm talking the seeds about the manure that you have to use, the pesticides that you have to use. The main difference being organic is knowledge intense. Well, you compare with GM production, it's actually very expensive. So I was reading the other day, to actually produce one trait of GM, correct me if I'm wrong, it actually costs approximately 15 million to produce one trait of a GM. So how sustainable is that? And will actually farmers be able to afford this kind of a seed for them to grow season in, season out? Comparing that these multinationals that are introducing the GM want to make a profit every single season.
So Brian, we will take it from there. We will now be taking a short commercial break, but don't go too far. We will be back shortly.